Hi students, this video is just going to go over the syllabus. It's a little bit lengthy, both the syllabus and the video, so if you want to grab a snack or watch this in chunks, that might be a good idea. I'll try to go as quickly as I can and really just highlight the most important parts. Of course, I'm hoping that you will read it through on your own, but I realize that it's pretty long and sometimes students would just rather listen to me tell them the most important parts. So this video is here if you want it, and we'll just go ahead and get started. So I'm your instructor, obviously, and right now, because my little one is growing really quickly, I'm not sure when his nap times are going to be and exactly when my nanny is going to be watching him. So it'll kind of depend on when he's sleeping and when he's being watched when I will have my office hours. I will be absolutely sure to post them in Blackboard announcements if they change. But you will have access to me during my online office hours. As always, if you want to meet on campus or if you need to talk to me or have a conference with me outside of my office hours, we can always set up some one-on-one time pretty much any time that you'd like when you're available. So I realize that that's kind of, a difficult situation, that I'm not really giving you my office hours right now, but I will post those and they may be subject to change throughout the semester depending on his schedule. But I am pretty flexible and we can kind of do it on a personal case-by-case basis as well, and you could just make an appointment with me. Generally, email is the best way to reach me. I do keep normal business hours with my email from 9 to 5, so if you email me outside of those hours, I will get back to you once I log on the next time. Last minute emails are kind of hard to answer before an assignment is due because I do get a lot of emails, especially kind of in the crunch time before an assignment is due. So I would encourage you to reach out early just in case I get inundated with a lot of emails. And, if you send it on a weekend or if you send it, right before an assignment is due, I may not be able to answer you in time. What I do ask, because I get lots of emails, is that you observe the rule of 3. And the rule of 3 is checking at least 3 other sources before reaching out to me. So you can look at the syllabus, the course calendar, looking at the assignment sheets or the rubrics and grading criteria using Blackboard, looking at the student samples, asking someone else in the class, things like that. You should be able to find your answer in one of those places, but if you look at 3 other places and you still can't find your answer or you need some clarification, I'll be happy to answer your question. I don't want you to be afraid to ask things, of course, but sometimes students will ask me questions that could easily have been answered simply by reading the course schedule or looking in the syllabus. So I try to cut down the amount of unnecessary emails that go back and forth, just to save us both time. The required text is Everything's an Argument, the 7th edition, and you only need the brief edition, the edition without readings. If you have access to the 7th edition that has the readings, you can use that, but it's not necessary. You can buy it, rent it, use an e-text, whatever fits your needs and budget is just fine with me. Some other required materials you can look through. How to access materials on Blackboard. We'll use Blackboard for everything. And here are the course description and outcomes. So 105 is basically 101 and 102 smushed together. It is an accelerated course, and it is an honors course as well. So just by being enrolled, you do get honors credit. Throughout the 16 weeks, you'll complete 3 major written projects, and then we'll have our portfolio and reflection due at the end. The goals for this class is to help prepare you for your personal, professional, and academic life. So you're going to learn what rhetoric is, how to use it in ethical ways, how to assess a rhetorical situation, how to analyze and use rhetorical strategies and tools, how to read texts. I know you think you know how to read, but thinking about how, analyzing the text instead of just reading it, evaluating the claims of the text, things like that. Working on your writing process, making sure that you know how to revise your writing, and then how to use library resources to find different types of sources and evaluate the sources and then incorporate those into your work. So some of you may have already done a lot of these things in other classes, so we're just continuing to practice. Hopefully you will learn a couple new skills, especially in terms of revision techniques or just types of analytical thinking. So I hope you'll find our projects interesting. So to teach this course, it is a themed course, and I usually don't do themed courses because it requires kind of more work on my part to find readings, and you have to change them pretty often and make sure they're up to date. But I really wanted to do this theme last year, and it went really, really well, so I'm kind of bringing it back for this fall. And the theme is fact-checking, author vetting, basically looking at how we can combat clickbait and fake news. And, you know, when I created this course last year, it was a pretty hot topic, and I thought maybe it would, you know, not be as cool or as relevant. And I'm finding that it is continuing to be an ongoing issue in the media today. So I do think that this is still a relevant topic, and I'm excited to revisit this course again, and I hope that you will find it as interesting as students did last year. So basically, I want you to explore your own thoughts on issues. I want you to think critically about the source, about the information that I give to you, the readings and things like that. Don't imply that I agree with the readings or that I think that they're good sources. I kind of created a mix of things that are credible and kind of fake newsy, things that are kind of clickbaity and contemporary, because I wanted you to be able to form your own opinions about things. In this class, even though it's an online class, I want you to feel like you can discuss things the same way you would in a classroom. I want you to think about all sides of the issue, though, instead of just one-sided discussions. And if you're talking about a potentially, you know, polarizing issue, the idea is that we don't attack people or, you know, public figures. So we're going to be discussing ideas and concepts rather than people specifically. You can read a little bit more about this, but an example would be like if you want to talk about issues surrounding Planned Parenthood, rather than attacking, you know, perhaps President Trump, for example, that would be inappropriate. What you would want to talk about is maybe finding examples of plans to cut funding to the program, and you can analyze those articles and things like that. So even though we can talk about very controversial issues in this class, the way we talk about them and the way we discuss them is very important, and I want to keep that professional and balanced. So moving away from that, if you have other questions on the theme of the course, you can absolutely check in with me and ask. But I want to move on to the time commitment for this course. A lot of times students think that online or hybrid courses are easier, that they require less time, and they actually don't. A lot of times it requires students to put in more effort because you're going to have to take responsibility for your learning. You're going to have to reach out to me if you need help, and you're going to have to manage your own time. So that can be actually pretty tough to do. According to ASU Online, you should expect to spend 9 or more hours a week on just this course. So please be aware that that is a pretty realistic expectation. Some students get things done a little bit faster, some things take a little bit longer depending on how fast you read or how fast you complete the activities. Some weeks might have more book work, some weeks you might have might focus your time on writing and revising, and you may not open the book at all. So please just know that I'm not a fan of busy work. I don't like grading it, and I don't like giving it. So everything in this course is carefully designed to help you be successful in the major projects. So everything we do in this class is very important, especially for my online classes. I've gone over and over, kind of cutting things out and streamlining the course so that only the most important stuff remains. So I don't want to waste your time, but everything we do is very important. And this isn't a class that will allow you to cram in all the work at the end of the semester. If you are wanting to finish a class early, you should take a Session A or a Session B course, because this is going to take the full 16 weeks and you're going to have to be doing things throughout the semester. So there are 3 major writing projects. You can read about them a little bit more in depth. You can read about the course grading, if that's something interesting to you. Some notes about the course grading. There are going to be some extra credit opportunities, so I don't round up. If you get 799 points, that means you get a 79.9 and you will earn a C. So just be aware of that. And I don't give any plus minus grades. Everything's just a straight letter grade. So be aware of that. Take advantage of the extra credit if you think you need a little bit of a boost. Course grades are determined by points, and there are 1,000 points in this semester. You'll be writing a rhetorical analysis, which is worth 200 points, a factual event essay, which is 150 points, the issues paper, which is like a mini research paper, that's 300 points, and we'll have an annotated bibliography that goes along with that. You'll have your participation points and a reflection and e-portfolio at the end of the semester. Your participation points are broken down in these smaller assignments and weekly responses. So in terms of attendance, this is a writing program-wide policy, so this isn't something that I make up. This is from the department, and you can only miss 4 absences throughout the entire course. Weekly responses are what I use to calculate attendance in an online course. They also count for points for participation. So those weekly responses kind of pull double duty. They're both points and attendance, and you can only miss 4 weekly responses before you automatically fail the course. So you have to post, you have to post if there's 8 and you can only miss 4. Wow, my brain. You can only miss 4 of them, so you have to post the other 4 and make sure that you get those done if you want to stay in the course. Some other notes on technological issues, athletics, and religious holidays, which are kind of unique in an online course. If you are in the course but you don't reach out to me or submit anything in the first week, you are in danger of being dropped. Be sure that you understand that everything written for this class needs to be available in terms of being considered public property. So make sure that you're writing in that way. Also keep in mind that because of federal law, I'm a mandatory reporter. So things of a sensitive nature, things like sexual assault, abuse, self-harm, violence, things like that, I will have to report. Late writing projects are not accepted for graded credit. You'll see that you have to, in number 6 here, in order to pass the class, you have to submit the 3 major writing assignments. So if you submit them late, I can accept them for you to stay in the course. You won't automatically fail, but you will not get graded credit for those late assignments. So you want to make sure that all assignments are submitted properly through Blackboard before the deadline. And I do not accept emailed papers, so they have to be submitted on time through Blackboard. Now, because life happens, and I do understand that, and I try to be flexible with you guys so that you're flexible with me, I do have a late paper or a late pass policy. So once per class session, you can use your late pass on a final draft of a major project, and that gives you an extra 48 hours to complete it. So you can only use it once, and all you do when you use it is type in the comment box when you submit your paper that you'd like to use your late pass. So once per semester, you can turn something in 48 hours late without any penalty, but once you use that up, I do not accept email papers for credit. Be sure that you understand what constitutes academic dishonesty and plagiarism, and be extra careful about that. Something that I'm really passionate about is using student samples to show you examples of excellent work or work that needs to be revised. So please be careful when you use those samples. They're supposed to be kind of, something to stimulate your creativity or help you kind of see what I'm expecting. But if you plagiarize them too closely, that's considered, or if you use them too closely, it's considered academic dishonesty, and you don't want to do that. Just remember that I'm really familiar with the student examples because I've read them many times, so I will notice if you plagiarize them. And if you're nervous that you're copying it too closely, you can always ask me for help. Please review the following policies on disruptive, threatening, or violent behavior, sexual harassment policies, and copyrighted material. If you have a disability, make sure that you're going through the DRC. It's going to be your best bet at getting the accommodations that you need. So if you, break your arm or are sick for a long time or have some sort of learning disability, you have to register through the DRC in order to get accommodations from your teachers. Once you do that, I am more than willing to help you, but that's the best way to kind of protect yourself and get the help you need. Make sure you save everything because we will have a portfolio that you're going to upload all of your finished projects to, so make sure you save everything in multiple places. And make sure that you keep everything until the term is officially over and grades are posted. If you have any issues with your grade, I will be letting you know at the end of the semester how to appeal your grade if you need to go through that process. Now these following policies are unique to my class. So required paper format, 1-inch margins, Times New Roman, double spaced, 12-point font, all that good stuff, and we will use MLA in this class. The submission policy is as follows. If there's a technical problem, that's not an excuse to turn something in late. So if your computer's not working or your internet goes down, you're still not going to be able to turn your work in on time for graded credit. You need to allow yourself the time necessary to submit properly. So I wouldn't wait till the last minute on things. I would always leave enough time that if you have a computer problem or an internet issue, that you leave enough time that you could run down to campus or that you could borrow a computer from someone to submit your work properly. Moral of the story, just don't wait till the last minute because something's always going to happen. You do have that one-time late pass, but you don't want to rely on that every single time. Please keep in mind that if you submit the wrong file or a corrupt file, that doesn't count as being submitted, and you won't get any graded credit for that. You have to submit them in the proper formats, doc, docx, RTF, or PDF, and you can't email them to me. Something else that you need to realize is that Blackboard only lets you submit one time. So, double check. Make sure you've uploaded the correct file in a readable format. Go slow. Make sure you upload the right thing, okay? This is your responsibility, and this is something that's unique to an online course. Everything happens online, so you need to make sure that you're doing a good job of submitting the proper files in the right format. If you would like feedback on a rough draft, I do ask that you give me 3 full business days to respond and that you ask specific questions about your draft. If you just send me a draft and you don't ask any questions about it, you'll get very general feedback from me. If you want very specific feedback, you'll want to ask very specific questions. I will answer emails in the order they are received, so the sooner you can get your drafts to me, the more likely it will be that I will be able to read it carefully and respond to you before the assignment is due. Even if you send it to me 3 business days in advance, if every single one of my 125 students emails me, I'll just go in the order of who emailed me first, and I'll work until I answer as many emails as I possibly can. Our revision policy is as follows. If you earn a grade of 75% or lower on an assignment, you can revise it for a higher grade. You can only revise once during the entire semester. Excuse me, I'm yawning and the school year hasn't even started yet. Oh, okay. Revise once during the semester, and due to time constraints, the last major paper and the e-portfolio cannot be revised because there's just not enough time. If you want to revise, you have to contact me and talk about your paper with me in like a video conference. And you only have a week to revise your paper after you get your grade back. So you want to make sure that you decide whether or not you want to do that pretty quickly. The reason I do this is because I do want to allow students who miss the mark or have a bad week or just drop the ball on their assignments. I want them to have an opportunity to revise because I want to extend mercy to you. But at the same time, I don't want to spend all of my time instead of teaching. I don't want to spend my time grading revisions. And I know that you all want to do your very best. So that's why I limit the revisions to a 75% or lower. So if you get a 90 and you're like, gosh, I really wish I could revise to get a 95, that's not really going to be an option. You'll want to complete the extra credit opportunities instead. On this page, page 10, there are a list of resources for you, libraries, counseling, writing center, that can be helpful to you. Note on course material and due dates. If you look down here at the course schedule, there's tasks and then there's deliverables. Tasks are things that you need to do on your own before Fridays at 11:59 Arizona time, and then the deliverables are due Fridays at 11:59 Arizona time. And so the deliverables are what you actually turn in, and these are the things that you need to do. So this is what you'll be working on the 16th through the 24th, and on the 24th, these things will be due. Okay? So for example, these things are the things that you will do the 27th through the 31st, and weekly response number 1 is going to be due the 31st on Friday before 11:59 p.m. So I try to make everything super simple. The only time something will be due not on a Friday, not before 11:59 p.m. is the issues paper peer review, but you will have more instructions on that as we get closer to that. Make sure you keep track of your due dates. What you can do is you can sync the Blackboard calendar with the Google Calendar if you don't want to miss things. The text is really important. I do really like this book. The price is right, and I like how it's written. It's a great example of interesting, brief, dynamic academic text. So when students are like, what do you mean, like you want our writing to have personality? Or, what are you looking for in terms of, academic writing that isn't boring? Our textbook is actually a great example of that. It's very academic, it's very sophisticated, but it's very accessible and it's interesting to read. So I really like that textbook. And right here, I've gone through and shown which chapters correspond to which of the projects in our course, so you can go back and review them as you go. I do not recommend working ahead. Again, if you want to take a session A or B class and get them over with more quickly, I would encourage that. The reason I don't encourage working ahead in this class is because if I want to make changes to something, or if I have some Blackboard announcements that will clarify an assignment or make something easier, you don't want to miss out on those. The other thing is that we will have a peer review for the research issues paper, so you can't work ahead on that because you need to wait for other people. The other thing about working ahead is I'm not going to grade your work before everything is everybody else's is turned in. So there's really no incentive for you to work ahead because you'll just get your graded work along with everyone else. And then we've got our course schedule. So hopefully that was helpful to you. I know this was a long video, but there was a lot to discuss. If you have any questions about how this course will function or about any of the policies, please reach out and ask me, and I will be happy to assist you.